Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Do it now. Check out the podcast below in the description.
John, today is the first day of July, which means we are 10 weeks away from this. Bum, 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 bum. Dallas at Tampa. This is a game that's going to count on NBC, Thursday Night Football, 5:20 kickoff Pacific. Al and Chris sliding in. Regular season football, 10 weeks away from now. When you say it like that, it doesn't feel that far away.
No, it really doesn't.
Celebration.
I think GMs and coaches, as of right now, are just praying that their players don't get arrested in a Lambo with an Uzi. Are praying that their players aren't doing
That's
75s.
a joke from a couple weeks ago, everybody.
Doing 75s and 35s. There was once a famous moment that happened, I don't know, 5, 7, 8 years ago, 4 years ago. A player on July 4th had an incident with fireworks. The one thing with the NFL is when, I guess Rodgers wasn't the commissioner at the time, it was
Paul Tagliabue.
Paul Tagliabue. And the Playmaker show that ESPN did. And they're like, this is too crazy. It's depicting our guys like nut jobs. The league, it actually was, I think it underserved the truth. Like it was actually kind of light. That is the NFL. And it's crazy. I think this is going to be the most hyped season of recent memory. It's in a decade plus, maybe. It feels like the hype on this season, the added playoffs, the famous quarterbacks in the league.
What we didn't have last year.
How many fan bases?
What we didn't have last year is a big.
I would say
that's the accelerator to this fire.
Yeah, maybe. That's a good point. The trampoline, like last year, the season was just so weird, and it was still consumed. But this year, the normality.
Make it up for lost time. You haven't seen each other in months. You're coming off the plane. You're not leaving the hotel for 3 days.
I do think if we found a group of 100 fans for every NFL team, how many of them would not be very optimistic about this season? 7, 8 groups? Because it's definitely over 16,
like
17.
If you sat a Lions fan down in front of me and they're optimistic, I'd go, you know what? Okay, that's fine. I don't blame you. Be optimistic.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
Even some of the bad, I would say, beside the Texans, do we have a truly, truly terrible team that just feels like they're headed nowhere?
I don't feel
because
that
even
way
the Jags, who have been awful. I mean, they got Trevor Lawrence.
Cincinnati's very interesting. Yeah, Texans are the only ones right now, and I guess that could change, but who knows? I guess speaking of the next 10 weeks. Deshaun Watson disappeared for the most part from the headlines into the end of June. That's one thing. What's Aaron Rodgers going to do? That's one thing over the next 10 weeks between now. Training camps start up at the end of this month, right? We're a few weeks away.
Do you think he's by August 1st? Is Aaron Rodgers at practice?
You asked me that a month ago, and I said no. I'll say no. Only because my inclination is to say yes, he shows up, because it's always harder to predict that something that hasn't happened is going to happen. So I'm going to say, yeah. I didn't think Tom Brady would be on the Bucs. There's a million things I didn't. Right, just these things are hard to actually predict. Jay Glazer's quotes a few weeks ago telling, at the end of the day, Aaron. The one thing that holds me back is I do think Aaron loves just messing with people and making people uncomfortable. But why go through all of this just to mess with people? Maybe you're bored. You got nothing else going on. But I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. He's not there on the first day.
Well, see, to me, that is an ongoing, and there's going to be finality to it. Like I don't think we see Deshaun Watson this season.
I agree with you.
And that's we became numb to it because so much happened and so much was just going on in the world on top of football stuff. That's pretty fucking nuts. I think we'll look back in 5 years. Now, who knows? Maybe he ends up going to jail. Maybe this ends up going away. I don't know. I mean, I can't even pretend to have an educated guess. But it's pretty crazy that a guy that had the best season of his career, young quarterback who's viewed as a star, demands a trade, and then boom, because of his off-the-field incidents, he's just a miss a season. Like missing an NFL season at 26 years old for getting in trouble is a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
right.
Especially if it's not a suspension that results from the punishment that the legal system gave him, but more of a we don't know where this is going. We're just going to keep him off the field, right? Because the story takes so long to unfold.
It's got Adrian Peterson with when he hit his kid written all over. Remember that? And they just booted him for the year.
Yeah.
Because to me, if I'm the Texans, I ask the league to kind of get involved and just put him on that list. Which, when that happens, will be a pretty big day. Like, whoa, he's going to miss a season.
Yeah. And I think
I
you're
guess
right.
it
What
won't
makes that
necessarily
story
be the season. They can always take him off the list, but
part of what makes that story's crazy on its own. But you add to it that it was preceded by him being a massive story.
I know.
Somebody to trade for him. Like it was humongous. He's not going to show up. He was doing the Rodgers thing. That's a great call. That's a great call.
I do think one thing we're going to see too is the Russell Wilson kind of comeback tour of happiness.
Yeah.
I saw Seattle tweeted out. Pete was talking, and Russell came, and John Schneider was there, and they're going to put on a good face. New offensive coordinator. But I don't. You have a bad fight and things that are said that I wonder if you just forget it. That'll be interesting to keep an eye on.
There will be. I think Tom Brady this year to me is going to be like Phil Mickelson was after he won at Kiowa, except good enough to win again at Torrey Pines, right?
Yeah.
Tom, for as hard as he works, I think we've seen it. Tom is really enjoying himself in kind of a way that Phil does actually. And I think you love it about Phil, and you love it about Tom. And I think this time last year it was so much of, does Brady have anything left? Is he washed up? Is he not? How good are the Bucs really going to be? He just won the freaking Super Bowl. I mean, we all know what happened, and sometimes just to say it, I don't want to be over the top here because we've had several months to think about it. It's still one of the crazier things that's ever happened that somebody's ever done in the sport, I think. And there's no reason to think that they can't be right back in the Super Bowl again this year. And so you've got all of the interest of Tom Brady in a new place, but what you add to it is, instead of all of the questions about whether Tom can do it, is what I just said. Everybody, I think, is watching it going, I can't believe he just did what most of us didn't think he could do. Can he do it again?
Well, I like the Mickelson take. And like you said, the biggest difference is, Phil was 100-1 to win Kiowa, and then he was like 90-1 to win Torrey Pines. Like, people weren't betting on him. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, according to my bookie, the Chiefs, I think the AFC is just easier. Their odds are a little bit better but Tampa and them, they're
probably the NFC favorites, right?
They are the heavy NFC favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, there are the next closest team, which to me feels a little crazy, are the Niners and the Rams. The Bucs are basically 5.5 to 1. Those two teams are 11 to 1. They are double the opposite, not in a good way, of the odds. Think about that. There is not a team within. You have to double their odds to get the next team. I call them a massive favorite, wouldn't you? At 5.5 to 1 to win the Super Bowl, not the NFC, to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
There is not a team in the NFC who's a single digit, and the only other team is a team they just kicked their ass in the Super Bowl. Now you'd say the Chiefs did completely revamp their offensive line. I think last year my take was, going into the season, they were kind of like the 73-win Warriors. It was such a weird year. I'm like, well, they were rolling everyone back. And what happened? They fucking cruised to the 1 seed. Like, they were by far the best team. It's some games you look, you're like, are they even trying? Now the Warriors always tried that 73-win season. The Chiefs went like 14-2 and didn't even really try that much. I do think this year there's going to be, when you lose, to me it's hard when you win that game to like have the same just fervor. You're like, what are we? And I think Corona added to it. They would have had their home field, right, fully sold out last year would have been nuts. I think it's going to be that way again this year. Everyone's going to be amped up. I think the Chiefs, they traded for Orlando Brown. They were just aggressive, obviously, in Trent Williams. Like, their mindset, like, they are trying to win a Super Bowl. To me, the two teams who feel like Super Bowl or bust inside their building truly are the Chiefs and the Bucs. Like, wouldn't you say anything less than a Super Bowl for those will be just like, even the Rams? Like,
yes.
If you tell me the Rams lose in the NFC Championship game, that's a successful
Be the best
season,
be the best season of Matt Stafford's career.
Yeah. There are just two true Super Bowl or bust seasons. A lot of teams like are just, I'd say, just like if the Browns get to the playoffs again, that's back-to-back. That's a big deal.
Next 10 weeks, draft was huge, which means what's happening with Zach Wilson's big. Justin Fields trying to battle out with Andy Dalton. Is there a competition between Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo? Does Mac Jones have a chance to be the starting quarterback? So, I mean, I think those things are going to be the next 10 weeks. I mean, it's made for those. Made for quarterback competitions that are not veteran, but highly drafted young star quarterback that everybody knows. Household names.
You could argue this season might be the most watched season of all time. I don't know if we've ever had as many famous quarterbacks in the league. Just a lot of famous quarterbacks. It helps like some of these older guys are still going strong. I mean, Tom leading the charge. But then there's a group of guys under 25, 26 years old just because they've been in our vernacular for a long – like Tua. Tua is really famous.
Tua.
He's going to be a starter.
Hope his preseason looks good, right? He's going to be the starter. What does his preseason look like?
But just think about that
Baker,
that group of
Kyler.
three. Tua, and Herbert. Those people are going to be keeping a close eye on those three guys.
Absolutely. The golf year. I mean, there's like a million. God, this is so great. 10 weeks away, baby.
Wentz.
Countdown. Wentz! Oh, my God, Wentz! That's going to go good. All right, y'all. Enjoy the next 10 weeks. Won't be here fast enough.